Welcome to Season 6, Episode 5 of the podcast. And today we are honored to have Scott McNally, who is the producer of Think Big Bodybuilding media, host, coach, and as he calls himself, bodybuilding nerd. Welcome, Scott, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. When Andy said that you were keen to come on, we were really excited. And I think it was it your birthday?
Yes. Last week was the big day. It was actually like, it was an awesome week. I had a client turn pro, so I felt like that was my birthday gift.
Yeah.
But then like everything else went wrong. I got sick, my internet died. So I'm trying not to think about that. It's over. That's the past now. Thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So Scott, I guess if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, your kind of history with bodybuilding, and then
there's gonna be a change because he's used to being the host.
Yeah.
Like just flip the script.
Well, like I said, thank you guys very much for having me today. And I'm excited because I want to ask you guys some questions too, because I got to know all about bodybuilding where you live. I'm sure that there's some things that are different than here. I'm sure there's a lot of similarities. I mean, in order to get in shape, you got to still do cardio, you got to eat right, you got to work hard. So I'll be kind of curious to compare and contrast. And I want to ask you guys about the gyms. I have like 100 questions running through my head right now, but I'll hold on to them. I'm probably a lot like you guys, that I love fitness. I love fitness enough that I like talking about it all day long. I do podcasts about bodybuilding. I started doing that in 2015, and it was really just for fun. But it still is, but it's also been a way for me to continue educating myself. As someone who got into the sport as a kid, I didn't stick with it. I didn't, I would train for 6 months and see some results and then quit. And it wasn't until a little bit later in life, about like a little more than 15 years ago now, that I actually stuck with it and I started seeing results, and it changed my life so much. I learned so many cool things about how hard work pays off and about reaching goals, that it's been something that's been a passion ever since. And along the way, I've been able to help other people, be it through my coaching or be it through podcasting and sharing with a lot of people or sharing things online. I've been able to hopefully help people reach their own version of the experience that I had in the sport. So to me, it's a real positive thing. And it's about, first me helping myself, but then also me being able to help other people to do this thing that we love.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think a podcast is just such a wonderful platform to educate. And I'm just trying to think, when did podcasting become a thing? I think 2015, that must have been kind of early days.
Yeah. It seems like everybody has a podcast now, doesn't it? It's if you're a coach, you've got a podcast. If you're a supplement company, you've got a podcast. Everybody. Yeah. Back then there was only a handful of fitness related bodybuilding, especially like we do more like the hardcore bodybuilding stuff, stuff for competitors, people who are, looking to get information about being enhanced. We talk about cutting water, things that like a lot of the general pop doesn't really care to know about. But yeah, 2015, we were one of the few. My friend and I, we enjoyed listening to all the bodybuilding podcasts that were out. There was maybe 5 of them. And we started a podcast called Bodybuilding Nerds Radio, where we reviewed the other podcasts, because what it was is like VJ and I, we met at the gym. And we lifted weights, and it turned out we kind of like had similar builds, similar strength. So we started, training together a little bit. And then we started doing cardio post workout. And it turned out that we discovered we listened to the same podcasts. So we talk about it and we'd be like, oh, did you hear what they said on this show this week? And then we thought, like, eventually we're like, well, why don't we do our own podcast and we'll just do what we're doing right now And then it evolved from there. But there were limitations because we didn't have the opportunity to do interviews. Like we had a fixed format on the show, and I wanted to start digging deeper. And I'm sure, like you guys, if you guys are hardcore into fitness, then you can probably relate that doing something just a little of us. So I went deeper, and I had the opportunity then to start, interviewing coaches that I wouldn't have gotten a chance to talk to otherwise. And I got to kind of pick their brains and learn from them. And since then, I've been able to develop a lot of really cool relationships with people through podcasting. In fact, I think you guys had my significant other on, Victoria Felkar. It was probably about a year ago now. I met Victoria through podcasting. So she was a guest on my show initially, like a friend of a friend thing. So yeah, I guess I owe a lot to it. But yeah, that's kind of like where we came from. So it's cool to see the way it's growing. I'm not sure the future of podcasting. I mean, I think about, I went to school for photography, and at the point in history when the handheld camera came out, the purists said, oh, well, photography's dead now. Everybody could hold it. Anybody could take a picture at that point, but it pushed the medium so much further. And I think that's the way podcasting is, because it used to be tricky to do a podcast. Yeah. Now it's like we've got Zoom. You can just hit a button and we are doing a podcast,
Yeah, no, especially during COVID, because we used to try and do it in person. Like Andy would come and we'd do it, and the quality was a bit better. But now we would never have been able to interview you or Victoria. Sure. And so for us, it really opened that up. And like you say, everyone does have a podcast now. And I mean, that's good and bad, I guess. But it's always, I think, great to have been there from the beginning. So you are like a trusted, source that people go to. How does Think Big Bodybuilding media work?
I got a quick question for you too, because I'm fascinated. What is, I hear a creature in the background. Whose house is that? Which one of you guys is that coming from?
Yeah,
is that you?
We have these. We have a pond out there. Being on the equator, it's dark at the same time, light at the same time. So it's generally dark by 7. So we've got tree frogs in the pond there.
They're tree frogs.
Yeah, they're cute.
That's amazing.
Little cute guys like that. And every time we record in the evening.
They come. That's amazing. I love that.
It's more like you hear hyenas.
Do you guys see hyenas out there?
Yeah, actually, on my story, on my evening walks, I see hyenas every night.
You're kidding me.
Dogs. So we go get the steps in. If you've got some good videos, the hyenas are getting a bit bold at the moment. My dog's actually slightly bigger than a hyena, so
okay.
But we get leopards as well.
No kidding.
Leopards. Yeah, we had a dog killed by a leopard one night. We love eating leopards, but we won't face off during daylight. They're sneaky.
Yeah, I can see that.
Come evening, we get the dogs in. It's all good.
That sounds like here in the Southwest we have coyotes. Yeah. And I lived out there for a few years, and I was told that I had a Rottweiler, and I was thinking like, well, they can't hurt my Rottweiler, and they said no, they're tricky because they'll all gang up. Pack of them. So it is interesting. You guys, we don't really have to face that here in Detroit where I live. We have to worry about each other, I guess, but we don't have the people. Yeah, we don't have that. That's
rather animals, to be honest. Like but Andy is taking.
Andy is the one taking the tree frogs are harmless.
We did have a lion.
You get lion. Yeah, the lion in your neighbor's garden.
It escaped from the national park, which is quite close to us. So Nairobi is quite unique. It has a national park right in the middle of the city. And the fence is not brilliant. So a lion escaped and ate our neighbor's dog.
Oh my gosh, a freaking lion! A lion!
Our dog went berserk that night, and I walk early in the morning around the garden. She was going crazy. So I was literally walking right by this lion.
Holy cow.
Talking about, I used to live right near where Claire and Leon live now, but in the giraffe sanctuary next door. And lions used to come in a lot, but the neighbors Rottweiler chased off the lion, and we had it on sort of security video footage of
That's
the
impressive.
lion. Rottweiler chased a lion with cubs. It had cubs. We found 2 cubs hidden up a tree.
Wow. Yeah, that just blows my mind. It is such a different world than I live in. That's exciting to me. I know for you guys, this is like everyday stuff. Oh, tree frogs, lions. It's like
Yeah, you just have to wake up and look, check your WhatsApp first for any, alerts, and just be sure you're good to
Oh, no kidding. So you may get an alert that says like there's a lion in your neighborhood right now.
Yeah, like if the neighbor sees it or someone suspects something.
Like the road has a WhatsApp group. So
Okay.
So it's
like
communication.
like it's either wildlife or yesterday students were rioting because they just decided to close a university without telling them and to evacuate the premises by 6. So the students were rioting. So it's never a dull day here for sure.
I guess not. I'm sorry to have taken us off track though. Think Big Bodybuilding Media. We're a network of people, and that's what I've always tried to do is bring, like, before that I had a network previous to that, and we're a bunch of different people that love fitness, basically I just help other people to podcast. I record all the shows. I try to take a back seat on a lot of our programming to give other people that I think are, have something interesting to say, to kind of give them a spotlight and ask them the questions, and put the attention on them. And that way I can, like I said, I learn stuff all the time, so we have, right now, I think we have about 5 different programs that release on Think Big, and they don't all come out every week, but we do have our mainstays. There's a couple programs that come out every week. And then we have some that come out every other week, and then we'll do like special interview events and stuff like that. So I used to have Bodybuilding Nerds Radio, and then this, and then another thing. And I'm just trying to consolidate it all down now into just Think Big Bodybuilding. So yeah. So it's me.
Are you moving away from, because you had, Advices Radio, and that just then became Think Big.
Yes.
Are you moving away from sort of straight podcasting more to sort of YouTube format?
Here's the deal is, like when we did start out, I didn't see the benefit of doing video. Plus I liked the audio. Like I got into the magic of radio, the amount of, I guess there's imagination that goes into being a listener of a podcast. And I still respect and I love that. But I also saw that there were limitations to it, that there was an entire new audience on YouTube. So we went to YouTube, and I started finding that people were like, oh my gosh, I never heard of you guys. You guys are brand new. And they didn't realize we had been podcasting for years. So it had been kind of, in one way, it was humbling because, you get used to having a following, and then you get used to, them understanding where you're coming from, because it's an ongoing dialogue. If somebody listens to you talk on a podcast for an hour every week or whatever, you get used to that. And it kind of was like a starting over, which was a little bit scary too. But I think it pays off because, like I said, YouTube is such a different platform, and it's allowed me to be creative in new ways. So we can add in little bits and clips and show video, demonstrate training, things that we couldn't have done with just audio.
It's quite funny. Which was always, I've started recording with Mary Camo, so
all right.
Don't know what I'll do about that.
Well, they'll reconnect with us, right?
Yeah, they'll reconnect. They'll just probably start the generator up.
Okay.
I had the power earlier, so it's like.
That's amazing. Start the generator. I don't even own a generator.
Yeah, no, it's a nightmare.
I need a generator.
KPLC,
that's what that tells me.
So KPLC, which is the Kenya Power Company, has a monopoly.
Okay.
The only power company in the country, and they're terrible.
Okay.
Shocking entity with outdated, overhead cables still, where a monkey or a giraffe would break it or something happened. and or it rains and it all trips, and but ever they feel like you owe them money, they will happily come around and extort the money.
Right.
It's like, oh, I haven't had a bill sent to me for months, and now you're just coming around asking for money. We're going to cut me off. It's so we're funny, but they'll be back on in a minute. But where were we? So traffic and stuff. I think, I don't know, YouTube. I personally do the YouTube. I watch all the shows on YouTube rather than even if so half the time I listen to them rather than watch them. I always think it's quite funny. It's just because it's all in one place, and I get my notifications and I just watch it.
Yeah. I like YouTube. I think that one of the benefits I think is you get a good chance to interact with your audience there, because they can comment, and we rely a lot on that. I take a lot of listener questions off of YouTube. We build entire programs around, answering what the listeners are asking. And it's a good way for us to stay plugged in too. Cause as a podcast, the question is always like, what do people want to hear about? It's like, well, tell us, and then we'll talk about it, No,
I know you've had a lot of, you've done shows with all sorts of people. I always watch It's Just Bodybuilding. I've always been a big fan of Ron and Dusty. It's funny because Ron's a similar age to me, because I'm in my 40s myself. So I like listening to Ron talking, because it's like, a lot of his references, especially talk TV shows, I'm like, I know that. That in the music. I'm like, I get it. So, I'm about, I'm a little bit older than those two. But so I always watch that, and I watch you and Dave Costland a lot, because interesting. I've spoken to him before actually, and you had Dr. Dean on the other day, and he does all my bloods.
Oh, cool.
And all my bloods. So so I know Dean really well.
Dean's awesome. He's brilliant, isn't he?
Except for when we have our consultation calls, and I'm like, most of it's just like, I'm like, hang on, I need to go back over that. So I'll message you after the so let's just get back over a couple of points.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting. We use coaches abroad. Like Leon worked with Jordan Peters.
Oh, okay, no kidding.
So we're kind of in that sort of style of training. Me and Leon, we like that sort of.
You guys do more. Okay,
DC style, but more Jordan-esque hybrid DC style.
Okay.
But
I like that.
So, that's kind of where we are with our training. In Kenya's, this is why one of the reasons we started a podcast, because Kenya's a bit behind. Hello, Clea. How are I was recording, but I don't know what we do about that. I'll send you the link.
Don't worry, it'll record in bits.
Leon can piece it together.
Generator is on, so
nice.
Just waiting for Leon, and we'll start. We'll just piece it together.
All right. We have to do that all the time too.
Oh well, I guess it is. At least we can piece it together.
We're back.
That's it.
You ready?
Let me
just cut out Leon swearing at the.
Makes a change from it just being me swearing.
Okay. Everyone ready?
Go on. Do I need to stop? Or do I just leave mine recording as well?
No,
just record. I'll edit.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
We are back. We had a slight interlude there with Kenyan power. The generator is on. And
I feel like we say that every episode now.
It's been bad recently, but I was explaining to Scott about KPLC and Monopoly.
Anyway.
But I think we were talking about, when you guys were cut off, we just talk about how in Kenya it's still very much more podcast versus YouTube, especially for our own show. And I say it could be something to do with traffic in Nairobi. Most of our listeners, although we do have global listeners, not too many, I'm sure it's just my mum, or somewhere.
Yeah.
We have a few friends of friends in different countries, but most of the people listening in Kenya, I'm sure it's sitting in traffic, car podcast playing, because you spend most of your life in traffic in Nairobi.
Yeah.
So nightmare.
We're really selling it to you, Scott.
That's why I don't live in Nairobi now. That's why I moved outside of Nairobi. But no, Kenya's beautiful, but traffic is one thing I don't miss about central Nairobi. But it does give an opportunity for people to listen to podcasts.
Sure.
Yeah.
When you're in cars, you get a good listen.
That's cool.
Because the audio does way more amazing than YouTube. When we compare the stats, it's
not even close.
Miles apart. Yeah.
It's not even a little bit close.
I found it interesting so when I had Advices Radio, I was in a partnership, and we had a YouTube page as well, and I was putting all this work, and we started doing video, and then the guy who would upload the video, I had no control over that, and I started researching YouTube, and in order to get ours to grow, because I had when we first had YouTube, I was like, okay, we got great guests, we're gonna just nail this. Literally the first week I launched the YouTube, I had Brandon Curry on 1 week from the Olympia before he won the Olympia. Okay. I got like 300 views.
No.
What?
Yeah.
What's the thing? It's been like us, though. We had Kamal Al-Ghani on, didn't we? When he had just won the 212, Mr. Olympia 212. And I don't know, how much did that get? I didn't get that many. It didn't.
Yeah, most guys would give feedback. Well, like you say, the diehard bodybuilding, and a lot of our what do you call it? Like the guys who listen to our podcast, our audience, it's your normal day to day. So the Kamal one, I think every bodybuilder in Kenya that I talk to has listened to it, but
that's cool.
Yeah, the other guys are like,
I think it's one of the ones I was most excited. Him, Samson, those guys.
Yeah.
But it's but actually the one who's got our biggest viewership was the Kenyan sprinter, Walter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, we got a guy who he's
that did
top
amazing.
Kenyan 100-meter athlete. And he's got obviously he's got a big fan base.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, when did you see your YouTube start growing?
So I started researching, and by researching, I mean, I started watching YouTube videos about making YouTube videos successfully. And from there, I started seeing like, okay, I got to change things, and I need to start making, like, how do I make my thumbnails marketable? How do I make my intros, catchy? How do I make my title enticing? At the same time, do all those things while not compromise, with my morals, and not just be clickbait. And it's been a balance, to find that. And then from there, it started to grow. But I realized it was a different game. And the reason that I actually started Think Big is because I didn't have any control over Advices Radio's YouTube. I couldn't upload videos there. I couldn't control that. So I'd give them the video, they'd put it out. I couldn't work it. Like YouTube was something I realized, like, you have to work it and then see your results and then see what works and then lean into that. It's a lot like the way you could look at dieting. You don't necessarily know how you're going to get somebody in shape when you meet them. But as you guys get behind the wheel and you start driving, then it starts making sense, like when to change lanes. And as you get more experienced, you can drive a little bit faster, and then before you know it, you get some momentum behind you. Yeah. Excuse me. So I'm no expert by any means on YouTube. There's people who are like way more successful than me, and I'm okay with that. But we're doing all right. We have a decent little following, and honestly, I don't know if I really want to go like mainstream.
Yeah.
Not every bodybuilding's meant to be. It's nice being a little click, sort of the bodybuilding side of things,
Yeah. Like when we disconnected for a minute, Andy was saying that he was talking about the training that he and Leon do, that you guys are very intense. You guys are very intense, and that's not a style of training that everybody's gonna plug into. So, it's like not all the audience on YouTube is gonna appreciate that, but I don't care. I want to talk about it. And, and I'm happy to have the people on that want to listen to that stuff.
Yeah. But it was literally this morning as we were doing our steps, we were talking about YouTube and how it's evolved, and like to be in that game, your editing skills have to be, like you've got to watch YouTube videos, how to edit, how to do all that, and it's
even the hashtags now.
That's the
hashtags
that
now.
kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just evolved. Like now you see videos and it looks like it's been done with high-end production.
They're like movies.
Yes.
And because you watch everyone's podcast, like what editor are you using? What the intros. It's not just record a video, drop it, and hope for guys watch it. It's not that anymore. It's really very well done and well
like
produced
you said,
content.
you need your thumbnail, you need your catchy intro, but I like what you said, like, because nothing bothers me more than clickbait.
Yeah.
So bad.
It is a balance though, and I mean, I guess if you want to grow at something, you just got to get good at it and keep practicing it, and the same with the podcast. And I like Think Big Bodybuilding Media, having someone like you, like having something like that here would be amazing. I mean, we record in our kitchen, but I think there is one studio that you can record here, but
we've considered
that would be awesome.
Yeah, we've considered doing. We're taking steps, because even we just started recording videos this year. Because we just have to keep up with the competition, I guess. But
I do think
after seeing your background. No, sorry, I was saying after seeing Scott's background, now it's the next step.
You guys can do it. You can do it. That's the great thing about podcasts, are you guys could be creative, make something that's your own, and set it up right in your home. You don't need it to be anything fancy. You guys are already, not to mention too, you guys are already a step ahead because you're already doing it. It's like, I think that's the hardest thing, is just getting started, and then you can continue to improve along the way. A lot of people get caught up in I want to build a website, but then they never get to it because there was too many ideas that went into it, and they get overwhelmed. It's the same with a podcast, but now you guys have been rolling for a while, for some time now, right? And you guys could, so you guys can keep building off of that, and just a little bit at a time, a little bit better as you go.
Exactly.
I do think as well that the way people are consuming media is different. Like YouTube used to be almost purely entertainment to some degree, but now it's a lot more people going there for education. Everyone's realized you can pretty much learn anything off of YouTube. You can rebuild a car watching YouTube. You can build a house. Doesn't mean you do it quickly, but there's information there. I think people, and same with podcasts, people realize actually the world of media is way more than just entertainment. And I think for us especially, we like to try and educate. That's why we get so many guests on. We had Victoria, we've had Dr. Dean, we've had Gabrielle Fundero on a couple of times, because the education side is quite important to what we want to do, because Kenya doesn't have a wealth of, Africa as a whole, our market's not just Kenya, Africa, but there's a shortage of proper educational sources.
I could see that. Hey, if I can ask you guys another question, what are the gyms like there? Because I know that in different countries, I know that in the US we were very blessed that you can walk into a gym and you'll have like every piece from Hammer Strength and every piece from Life Fitness. But I'd have to imagine that it's not like that in every place in Africa. What are the experiences like where you guys
Neil used to train at the same gym called Fitbet. It's now closed because it's hard to make money in gyms in Kenya. That have the best equipment. Atlantis.
Yeah, they did.
Nice.
Had all the Atlantis, incline chest press, which was amazing. The row. Most pieces that are in Nairobi, who got sold to various clinic closed, but the chain gyms are, on the takeover now in Kenya. It used to be a lot of, like, going back, like, take someone like British bodybuilder Eddie Abu. He went to school in Kenya, and we had him on the podcast talking about how he used to train with concrete weights.
Yeah.
And the majority of Kenyans, probably Leon, you might have been the same. You started off on the concrete.
Yeah.
Dumbbells.
I still have pictures of my first concrete dumbbells, concrete barbells, and I had a wooden bench that my dad used to use when he trained for football. So
That does not sound
I think nails. Yeah, but it was interesting because cement, definitely don't weigh the same, so you could never do odd sets. You could not do one set, three, so the sets had to be 2, 4, 6 because you have to switch the weights and remember which. So when I think now it's just evolved. There's more gyms, yes, smaller, not as equipped like what we see like on Instagram, where you have, I think, 10 types of different companies of machines in the gym, but we've come a long way from concrete to weights now.
Yeah, and we're getting cheaper. They were really expensive. Like, me and Leon met at a gym before that called Trojan. Yeah. And they closed. Leon was working. They closed and stole money. We took my memberships and then closed the following day. But going for point. So if anyone sees them, I'm still looking for them. But yeah, so they had decent equipment, but it was used to be about like $100 a month.
Yeah, about 90 to 100. Yeah.
Oh wow.
About 9,000 shillings. So it's almost $100.
And that's just the membership, not even anything.
But not common to be that price. I mean, I would say there are not any hardcore bodybuilding gyms here. They're the more commercial ones with more cardio equipment than actual good.
Okay.
Weight, things like that. They are getting.
We're getting there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we are getting there, but it's especially when COVID hit, gyms really suffered here.
Everywhere,
everywhere. So, but there's. It's not easy to find a really good one, like with really good machines. That's for sure.
We don't train at commercial gyms anyway, do we? Because you've got your own gym.
Yeah. We have a container gym. The amazing thing about being here is that people make everything. There's a guy here. I think he probably has the most hardcore bodybuilding gym. It's called Hood Gym. He makes his own equipment, amazing.
Yeah, I think that's because he has zero cardio equipment. He is all about getting your steps in.
And he's got an amazing physique as well.
Does he?
Yeah. Well, it's a natural talent.
Yeah, because maybe 5 to 10 years ago we were still in the classes, cardio, classes sold. So gyms that did well had the most cardio machines. Weights, especially for women, wasn't a really big thing until maybe even 5 years. It's still very young, but it's now where a lot of women are training with weights and, Clear, she puts out a lot of information when it comes to training weights, but maybe even 10 years ago, the gyms that did well had the most cardio machines and the most classes. Like you could have 10 classes, 8 to 10 classes in a day, where morning it's aerobics, spin class.
That's why CrossFit did so well. Is doing well in Kenya. CrossFit's doing really well. There's a few CrossFit gyms, which is nice for actually getting people moving a barbell around. As I said, one thing about when COVID hit, I found an engineer to build equipment. I got a pendulum squat made.
Nice.
Pulley systems. I got a Swift machine actually I bought off of Leon and Clear. So and I got benching. I got about about nearly 400 kgs of plates now. So
nice.
Yeah.
I don't need to go anywhere. I don't need to see people. It's great.
Yeah. What's the contest scene like there? I know, Andy, you said you're just a few weeks out now.
I'm prepping for UK though, UK Army.
Oh, okay. So you're
So-
going to travel to the UK to compete.
Yeah, I go back. I compete in the UK rather than Kenya because I like to leave the Kenyan shows for Kenyans. I don't think I'd win either. There's too much
Yeah.
raw talent in Kenya.
There's some good bodybuilders there, huh?
Yeah,
There's
really
amazing
good, like
physique.
natural.
Amazing.
Yeah.
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 Which is like if the equipment, the education's better, and that's why we're getting better, even better now. Like the education, like training, proper bodybuilding training education is better. There's some real proper raw talent.
That's
we do
cool.
really well.
Yeah, because
Cool.
the competitions here are they're locally geared. There's no like IFBB qualifiers or NPC or anything like that. So
Okay.
Some prize
Yeah.
money.
yeah,
A
there's
little bit of prize money. What were you
Yeah,
getting?
it's amateur prize money, but yeah, I guess you don't get any amateur shows out there with prize money, so it's good, but it's very locally, it's just
Yeah.
local to, I'd say,
Production value is pretty low, but
Yeah.
it's a show.
It's not a stepping stone to anything as well, either. So it's so hard. Like if you want to make a career out of bodybuilding, that's extremely hard here because you need to go overseas to compete, and that's really expensive. I mean,
Yeah.
visas, all of that. So I mean, like Leon competed in 2019 in the UK, 2018 in SA. Andy goes back to the UK. So it's just sad that there's nothing here that allows you to qualify for any of the bigger shows.
Dubai's like the closest place, I think. UAE, Middle East.
Yeah.
Is the closest
Okay.
place for most people. But well, didn't you say Big Rami's doing a show in Egypt?
Oh yeah, he just announced today, so it's like the first Olympia qualifier in Africa. So
No
It's
kidding.
gonna be a pro. Is it gonna be a
That's
pro show?
huge.
that's
Yeah.
that's like
You're going to Egypt.
it's a big deal, but yeah, it's because the I wish I could share photos with you, but there's really, really amazing physiques. Like if they stepped on an amateur show anywhere,
Honestly, like I get blown away by Wallace's, his
Yeah.
his natural lovely shape. There's a
Yeah,
few guys like that. And there's a few guys who've travelled,
Yeah.
left Kenya and they're living abroad where,
Oh, yeah.
there is a little bit more enhancement and stuff, and their physiques are pretty amazing. It's just like, I think with a bit of refinement, they'll do well.
Yeah. So yeah, as a career, bodybuilding career, Kenya is not really the place, but
But again, it's growing because it's sort of the hub, at least for East Africa.
Yeah,
So, from
Yeah.
Tanzania to Uganda,
they have
it is like Kenya is recognized for that at least, which is great.
they love our shows when Kenyans do shows. The TZ and the Uganda guys really come.
It's just that there's a lot of corruption within the bodybuilding federation.
Okay.
Federation here
All
is
sports.
they're still in court. The federation itself is in court.
Yeah.
So that's the federation that's part of the IFBB. It does the sort of the elite pro direction. So there's no federation running federated shows. So it's just bodybuilders running bodybuilding shows. Like
it's all passion and
it's just a
love.
passion thing, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a whole different ballgame.
The thing is, there's a lack of certain things here for shows. Simple things like tanning.
Oh, okay.
Posing trunks. And we were talking about this the other day. Just simple things like posing suits for women. They're not something you can get easily in Kenya. You got either get them from abroad or there's like Matumba, which is like secondhand clothes that get sent from abroad and get sold here. Like when we do collections, say, these clothes go to Africa. People think they're going to someone in a village somewhere, but actually we go to big markets and sold off. That money goes back to charities. That's what happens.
I had no idea that's where it went.
No, and then no one does. But that's basically how that works. So sometimes posing trunks and things turn up in Matumba.
Wow.
Or like a posing costume, So I think it's a little things like that because it's all added costs, I don't know. I've never really worked out. Is it like people have to have, we get some local tanning stuff.
Yeah,
Leon, what do you guys do for tanning most of the time?
there's a supplement company. There's a guy who brings in it's like brown, golden tan. So at least
It's very shimmery.
it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it
So,
something that you just put on once, like once you wash it off, it's gone?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Paint it on, don't you? Big much.
Like a Dream Tan. We have a company.
Yeah.
We're not Dream. Are you familiar with Dream Tan?
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
I think it's Dreamtime actually.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's like a one coat thing, and you're just bright.
There's like some of it looks
Yeah.
quite green on people, though, doesn't it? Like
Yeah.
greeny gold on especially with black skin, can go a bit greeny gold. Like,
Tan is such a
statue that's been left in the garden.
Tan is one of those things. Like I've gotten more picky with it because I see that, the main three that we have here in the US that we use, like liquid sun rays is probably the most popular now. And then there's Jantana and Pro Tan. And I found, like, I worked with a girl this past week who, and I get this too. She's in bikini, she's very, very lean, very detailed. And once you put 2 coats of that tan on, you lose, the definition.
Yeah.
It's hard to see. I think Dream Tan can be the worst for that, because you're kind of shiny and everything. The shadow areas kind of they have glitter in it, kind of, and it's bright. So there's no more detail. You're just kind of like, you're glowing,
Yeah.
So true.
Literally.
Yeah. So small things like that. There's just no standardization at all.
I see. Wow. Yeah.
But it's, honestly speaking, it's getting there where
It really is growing, and there's so much a passion for it.
Yeah.
That's
And
the foundation right there.
it really is. And like the guys are saying, there's just so much talent. Like, if these guys trained properly and ate,
that's the thing.
more optimally, you're like, wow, just wow.
'Cause
Or if there was more opportunity for sponsors, or something like that, that would be great.
Yeah, I'm sure. Because the sponsors, I'm sure, would come. It's just like Andy said, it's a federation, a corrupt federation. No, I guess the sponsors just no one wants to fund any corrupt institution.
Yeah, especially like small, like because the shows are small, you can't get international sponsors for small shows. If there's a big affiliated IFBB show with the federation, even if it was like going to pro elite qualifier type thing, you get international sponsors, but it doesn't work like that because we've made a mess of it.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, that makes sense. I think that what you guys are talking about though, if there are people that love it and they continue to do it, that it will continue to grow. Just like with podcasting, we were just talking about we talked about how when it first started, it was kind of difficult to do and there weren't a lot of options. And now everybody's got these professional intros. It looks like they're all in studios. And I feel like that's cool though. I think that here's my thought is you don't need like the best gym in the world to get a workout in, I would love to get a chance to train at, what was the name of that place?
The Hood Gym. Yeah.
Hood Gym. Yes.
You'd love it.
Yeah. We'll
check
send
that
you
out.
a picture on IG. It's
Please do.
Yeah.
Please do.
Yeah.
Hello, my shed proper sales order.
Yeah.
You can go to Andrew's
shed.
Yeah.
Chickens occasionally come in. I'm forever chasing them out.
That's amazing.
Because it's like I was talking to Clea, I enjoy, as much as it's not everyone's cup of tea, like I enjoy that feeling where I'm training in a dungeon, I'm alone, I can grunt and scream.
Yes.
Like, like there's that, you're just pushing yourself alone, and that's why I'm easy training at home with Clea, and I enjoy it. And guys are like, oh, you don't miss socializing with guys in the gym? And I'm like, no.
100% not.
I'm in my dungeon kind of vibe. So it's
I like
not
that too.
Everyone, but that. It just makes me feel more hardcore, even if I'm not. It gives me that feeling like I'm.
The thing is, it's just true though. Like the core foundation of training, you don't need fancy equipment.
Right.
The reality is, you move some heavy weight, you pick it up, you pull it down. That is pretty much a foundation, and you add a little bit to it each time. You know?
Yeah. Look at what Chris Bumstead did this past year. You know, him and Ian were training in their basement, you know, for a lot of that. So, I mean, and he improved his back. It was incredible, the progress that he made, you know. I think a lot of us have had to learn that, you know, with the gyms here in the US, all the gyms had closed down extensively for the pandemic. And, you know, I built a gym at home. I had 3 memberships before that. And just because I could afford it and I could write it off as a business expense. And then I could, go to this gym because they have the best leg equipment. And then I go over here because my buddy owns that gym and I want to support him and, do another workout over there and just kind of go to different places for different reasons. But now I've set up my basement where my studio is as well. And I was able to find some really good equipment and pick the pieces out I want. And now I don't ever want to go back.
I occasionally go to commercial gyms now. Very rarely. You guys don't, because when I go to Nairobi for meetings and stuff, I'll go to, say, like Smart Fitness. And then people want to talk to you, or they're on their phone, doing nothing on a bit of equipment. I'm like, seriously, you're going to hurry up? Or, everything feels lighter as well for some reason in a commercial gym. Like, when I'm in my shed, especially like the pulley system I built, like, because it rubs up against the beam, it's like doubling the weight as you're doing a lap pull down. But like you go to commercial gym, it's like, well, everything's so slicker and easier. It doesn't quite have the same feeling.
That combination of like studio and home gym, that is the goal. That sounds like the ultimate goal. So how many people do you coach, Scott? Is that a big part of the business?
I would say that it's, if I had to estimate my revenue, I would say that 75% of the money I make is from coaching. The rest of that, I make from podcasting. I try to not rely on the podcasting money. I want to retire one day. So I just try to save. I don't track how many people I'm currently working with. But I'm busy, I stay busy. I would say that only maybe 15% of them are competitors though. And the rest of them are lifestyle people. Some of those lifestyle people end up turning into competitors after they've been with me for a while, which is cool to see. But for the most part though, I'd say most of my day is revolved around working with my clients. So I stay busy. I do check-ins through emails, but then in just the last couple of years, I started using WhatsApp so that people could ask me questions quickly. And I used to stay away from that because I wanted to just keep everything streamlined, keep it all in the same place. That way I wouldn't get confused, forget anything. But my system's working out pretty good with WhatsApp, and it's allowed me to kind of build. I used to keep more of a distance from my clients, just give them the information they needed. And now I kind of see them as, they're kind of like my friends. A lot of them are. And, you get to know them, you get to know their motivations. And then that helps me figure out how to motivate them, so it's a big part of my day. It's probably, it's the most mentally time consuming, but it's also probably the most rewarding too.
And it also gives you fuel for your podcast as well.
Absolutely.
They go hand in hand.
Yeah, they really do. They really do.
It does help. I mean, we went completely online this year as well. Again, COVID was a great opportunity for us because I guess we're lucky enough that this business can go online. And again, here, that's not such a big thing yet. But as with everything like we've discussed, if you're there from the beginning, that really, really helps. Fitness is, and the whole industry here is still new, so as is online coaching, but it is growing a lot. So we really enjoy the online coaching, and we find the podcast just ties in so nicely, with everything.
Definitely. I like to use a podcast to answer questions. So I'll say to a client, if you've got a question, say, I'll answer it, but go back and listen to one of the episodes of the podcast where
Sure.
we had a guest talking all about it.
Sure.
Listener, but like, so my, coaching isn't my day job, but I've been doing it for 20 years.
Okay.
So, like I work in security, but like when I was in the Marines, I coached, in police, I coached, and I came out here, dealing with pirates and everything else, running around Africa with a rifle. But so that pays a day the bills, but it's a passion for me. Like coaching, I love it. It's like something that's why I have it on my WhatsApp as well. Because I actually encourage clients not to be scared to ask questions. I like to answer questions because I like to, I enjoy that part of it. So, yeah, so I was doing online coaching before. It was pretty big because I was coaching guys in the UK and all over the place, like friends and friends of friends. And then I think that's another thing. Pandemic helped people to sort of try different things instead of having a trainer in the gym, especially in Kenya, where there's a lot of guys coaching in gyms or training, personal training in gyms who don't actually have qualifications. To be working in a commercial gym setting. And I think that then it's one of the reasons we started the podcast. About that, It's like there's a lot of guys giving false information in gyms, just having people sort of doing cardio and doing burpees and, doing all this stuff. And, and I think when COVID happened, people started consuming sort of social media differently and seeing actually people like Clear Leon, myself, putting education out here, and were more interested in coaching. I just took on a lot more clients in the last year because now I'm a bit more senior in the day job, director of a company. I've got a lot more time on my hands.
Yeah.
You think I'd have less time, but I've got way more time now, which is great.
That's cool.
So I mean, like you said, it would just be so cool. I love what you're doing, and like you say, you're helping others with their podcasts and everything, and that must be really satisfying as well, doing that.
Yeah, it's fun. Like I said, I just I just try to give other people an opportunity to share their ideas, and then I learn, and then that helps me because we don't know everything. We don't have all the answers, and sometimes I'd say, like, if I could say one thing that I'm going to tell you guys a story. One thing that I learned through the podcasts. So for me, I noticed that every time I got on stage, my legs would be downsized. I noticed my quads would be smaller than I wanted them to be. And they were smaller than like maybe like 6 weeks out even. So 6 weeks out, they're looking good. By the time I get on stage, they're small. And I thought, I'm burning them out. I'm losing muscle. And then I learned though, through one of the guys I podcast with, Skip Hill, he said, I don't think you're losing muscle. They're just getting depleted. And that turned out to be the case. And I experimented and it was through a process of a lot of things. It changed the way I diet people now, because I realized that, as you guys know, when you get depleted, that muscle, it does shrink down, but it doesn't mean that muscle's gone, and I found that if I could get myself ready early, like a month out from the show, then I could back off the cardio, eat more food, that I could stay lean, if not get even leaner than I would have been, probably look better, be more rested, have more of like a pop to my physique, and that I could regain anything that I lost in my legs from having to push cardio while on low calories. And that's something that I've learned to apply to others, and it's not just with legs, but just in general. So I would say that like a shift I made from learning that was a couple of years ago. I started to recognize that if I were to get ready for a show in, say, July, but I also want to do a show in September, that yeah, I continued, like if I was ready in July, then I could continue eating up and then I would get leaner and I'd look even better in September. So then I started thinking like, okay, so why not just do this with everyone? Push them harder earlier. Cause I feel like I used to try to only push somebody as hard as they needed to be pushed so that we could land the plane right at the show. But if I land that plane 4 weeks early, then you have a lot of time. And that way too, if there was something that came up, God forbid they get sick or there was a car accident or, they go through a breakup and go off the rails for a week or whatever, you can still, have that time. But yeah, I nowadays I try to get people ready about a month out. And then we have a nice cushion where they're eating more, they're looking better, they're feeling more rested, they're less stressed. So they aren't holding as much water naturally. It's all those things have been a game changer for me. And it's because I learned something about myself from one of the people that I podcast with on the show.
Well, see, this is good. It touches on something that's happening with me, actually, because we tried this coming in really early. I've been on like a 20-week prep, whatever it is, 18 weeks. But and it's something you were talking about on It's Just Bodybuilding, not last show before. I found out I've got a fasted blood glucose issue, just generally, naturally. Dr. Dean discovered it. We were going through my bloods. I then did a sort of genetic test, and I got this predisposition to be diabetic. So for me, I've had to take the carbs really low to see changes. We've been on 90 grams of carbs, 2 hours of cardio, 20,000 steps to get the body going. And this morning I woke up and my body had just had enough. Weight was up. I was, gone from having striations in my quads to being soft and watery looking.
Okay.
So today I've had to bang the carbs back in because, so depleted for so long. But still, I'm not sure how my body's going to now handle those carbs because my body likes to try and store carbs as fat. So I've taken berberine and, other stuff, or just berberine really, but, and keeping active. But it's how's that? I'll see tomorrow morning. Today I was quite tight in the middle part of the day, my chest and stuff. We'll see tomorrow morning, if it has gone into where it's meant to go into, or just looking a bit fat,
It'll be a great experiment too. At 3 weeks out now, you'll get to see. Because whenever I carb people up, I'm always using that as a tool to see, how will this work for the carb up for the show, And each time I carb them up, then I say, hey, maybe we want a little bit less next time. Maybe Andy spilled a little bit, then we back it off next time and then until we figure out what we need. And then there's no guessing. That's the other thing, man. It's nice to not guess going in,
Yeah, I think when someone like me, where body just wants to store glucose as fat, is being careful in the off season not to get we really pushed this last off season. I gained plenty of muscle, but even at 40 years, 41 now, did quite well, especially in the back. But with that, there was a slight increase in body fat, and it took a while to get that off to get to a leanness where ideally that's where you want to start prep from. You don't want to start prep, too out of shape, and people general public see me would think I was lean at the beginning, but for a prep, I would rather have been a little leaner, come in a little earlier. So now the off season coming up, now I know it's let's not push your carbs too much. Just try and manage your insulin sensitivity as much as possible. Have more probably, cuts, mini cuts where we just drop maybe for a week, drop the carbs right down, bring it back up. Do it that way,
Yeah, that's on that podcast I was saying. Dave Kalick, a coach that we have on the shows often. His client Dorian Haywood doesn't tolerate a ton of carbs, so they end up using a good deal of fats in his off season. So they have maybe 400 carbs, but we're talking about a guy who's like a 300-pound bodybuilder, So it's not like a crazy amount of carbs for him, but then they boost those healthy fats up to get enough calories in. And then he isn't dealing with so many carbs that it's blunting his insulin sensitivity and making it worse, And
that's what we started. And that's about, kind of how we started this year with higher fats, lower carbs.
Okay.
You know, by that time, you know, it's just, you know, getting into prep and you're like, okay, no, I'll bring it all down. And it's just, you know, just harder to see reaction. But, you know, it's going back to that point of it's nice to sort of test things on yourself, you know. I've realized, you know, managing both carbs and good fats, essential fats, is actually quite key, and trying to see which one people do well with. You know, sometimes that takes a bit of time to experiment with clients over. That's why you've got to say to clients, you know, you really need to be coached for a period of time for us to learn your body, and not just expect a 12-week transformation project where
sure.
You know,
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, how many pros are you coaching at the moment?
Right now, just a few. I've got yeah, just a few of them. Most of the time, I think the people I've worked with that are pro, they come to me when it's time to diet. So,
Right.
yeah.
you know, and then they, a lot of times they handle their own off season. I've one guy, the guy I mentioned at the beginning of the show, who just turned pro. He'll be sticking with me through his off season. He's a great kid. Austin Mattered is his name. And believe it or not, this was his first contest season. We did a state level show, and he actually took second there. I don't know what happened to the guy who beat him at North Americans, because then they went to North Americans and he won his pro card there. Just incredible base. You know, the kid's got a lot of potential, but he's still doesn't understand. He doesn't understand training. You know, he's had a good base from just like enjoying lifting weights and doing what, you know, he thinks he needs to do. But, you know, he's somebody that I think could go far. It's interesting though. I feel like there are so few pros that actually are successful and do something with it. And a lot of what I've seen is that once somebody gets their pro card, there's a lot more pressure. There's a lot more pressure to beat what they've done before. And that, you know, they have a lot more expectations for themselves, and then more people have expectations for them. And I've seen people like stop loving it. You know, it sounds like what you guys are talking about, the situation there. There's a lot of younger bodybuilders that are just doing it because they freaking have the passion for it, you know, and it's fun. It's fun. That's the key. It's fun. And I think that when we start building up so much expectations for ourselves, it stops being fun. And then people
every sport, I've talked about
out.
this because I did really well with my time rugby, especially, you know, rugby was one of those things where I loved it growing up. I could get enough playing rugby from age 6, and I still play occasionally now.
Yeah.
My knees don't like it, but I'll roll out. But there's a spell where I was playing pretty decent level rugby. It just stopped being fun. You know, there's a certain expectation, training 4 times a week, you know, in the gym the other days, and it becomes a bit of a job. And you realise, you know, and there's a lot riding. You know, for me, I was never big enough to go pro, but fully pro. I did semi-pro, but you know, I understand, like with bodybuilding, especially where there's so many pro cards in the States.
Yeah.
You know, it then becomes very much a big job to be spotted. You know, you're trying. It's a job. You wake up every day and you're like, oh, how am I going to be that much better? You know, than the next guy. And it's easier to fall out of love with something if you're not careful. When you put so much pressure on yourself, there's pressure to turn it into an income.
Yeah. I think just in general, even for just state level competitors, there's that pressure to be better than you were before, and then it starts turning into this job, you know. And I think that the key for me has always been to plug back into my roots and why I love it. And I think that's why I got excited when I'm hearing about the gyms that you guys have over there, is that stuff excites me, because people are doing that because they freaking love it, you know, because they have a passion for it. And that's what I really love. That's why, like I said, I work with a lot of non-competitors that they just want to get in shape, and they're excited to learn their bodies, you know. And to me, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. Do you think like, say with because I remember doing the competition in the UK, and it's just not level playing field, you know, like you reach there and you realize, oh crap, I trained, but there's this extra, like enhancements wise, does it seem to make it harder or I don't know, easier? Like, does it become a job after that, or do you find with the pros you coach, it doesn't really matter, guys are just, because I know there's way more information when it comes to like being enhanced in the US, where it's seamless getting into it and continuing to pro level as compared.
Yeah, I say availability of actually supplementation.
Yeah, I imagine do we have better availability here? Would you guys guess? Or things, is it harder to get a hold of?
Guys, I get messaged all the time by guys, and they're on like Winstrol only cycles, and they want to know where you can get Winstrol from, because the guy, I don't know, don't ask me, but fact is, it's like, there's a lot of misinformation on supplementation. There's people taking stuff that probably isn't taking the right stuff because they're just some old guy at a gym told them, and where it comes from, who knows? Like the source of it, some underground lab out of Kazakhstan probably. I don't know. It's not like, the underground labs in the UK, like there's loads of them and pretty decent, most of them, apparently, but
yeah, like here it's still taboo, like even
well, like, creatine is still seen as a steroid here.
Really? Okay. Is it legal?
It is. It is. It's just people don't understand.
Just misconceptions about
like
I see.
Like say if probably like my mom saw me taking it, she'd be like, "What?" Like,
Leon, you've disappointed me.
Yes, like you've started this, and there's that. So
yeah.
When creatine is a big issue, you can imagine when someone had big Remy's using this and they look for it and someone gives them some weird spoil. So I don't know, it's just lack of any information here, and it's really taboo. Like it's not like, even when we try educate guys, it's not something guys are open to talking about.
I see.
That sort of helps, like athletes in the US where it's safer, so it's not such a big deal.
Well, okay. I think we lost you for a second, Andy. I here'd be a thought. I think that in general, the way that performance enhancing drugs are looked at in the US, and probably I could, just from what I know of the UK, what I'll say of the UK as well, if I can speak for them, it's just part of the game. So, you wouldn't do a bodybuilding show without lifting, if you're in the NPC at least, or like probably one of the big organizations in the UK, like, is it the PCA, I believe, is one of the big ones.
Yeah, NPC in the UK as well now. Two bros.
Yeah. Two bros, yeah. Like you wouldn't go to a bodybuilding competition without having eaten protein. You wouldn't go to a bodybuilding competition without having lifted weights. Yeah. And you wouldn't go to a bodybuilding competition without having, taken supplements. It's just kind of like, it's just part of it, I guess.
I think the Kenyan Federation, wrongly or rightly, probably to a certain degree rightly, it was a tested federation.
Oh, okay.
And like they print names of people who've been banned, like bodybuilders who are banned because they tested positive for, performance enhancing drugs. And maybe there's some wisdom behind that originally, like with the education and availability to try and create a level playing field, and costs involved. I imagine people buying like Anavar and being really debulked, like who knows, these sort of things. So I imagine that was half the reasoning behind that. Although you do hear rumors of people in the federation selling, but won't go into that too much. But so yeah, it's a weird situation. It's a very unlevel playing field in Kenya in that sense. Because of the lack of availability. At least in the UK, if you go into an untested show, it's an untested show. And even if you go in naturally, you're entering against guys who aren't natural. And that's But
You have
it's a
that
level
option.
playing field because you know the situation. Unlike if you go to a natural show and people are secretly using, that's wrong. But if you go to, if you go to a bodybuilder show and people are using and it's an untested show, that's the level playing field. It's up to you to make your own decisions.
Yeah, and I and at the end of the day, I mean, I've had guys that have been very successful that were natural, that competed in the NPC against guys that were using, as much gear as they wanted to use. So I agree, though. That's the point, is just knowing what you're getting into, but that it is still a level playing field. If you enter a show knowing that, you're in agreement, like, okay, we're going to do whatever we want to do, to get here. And if I choose not to, that's my choice, but yeah, I could see that. I could see coming from a place where nobody's using anything, then going to a place where people are. It's probably a very eye-opening experience to,
Well, that was before we came on. We were just talking how when Leon did the Two Bros Pro in the UK in 2019, that was the case. And the guy was like, "Do you want to go in with the
It's like
the open?"
Yeah, because I did the amateur class, and then after it's like, "Yeah, do you feel like filling up a lineup and doing?"
You did novice, didn't you?
Yeah, and I'm like, show me the open, guys. Let's see if I'm like, yeah, open class, it'd be good. I wouldn't mind even if I'm last,
Yeah.
But I saw the size of them and I was like, okay, this is where you become a meme.
That's not creative.
Yeah, this is where
it becomes a meme, exactly.
I was like, thanks, but next time maybe. Now, at least now I know I experienced it, and
yeah, that was really eye-opening.
It was, yeah, because it's and one of the guys was a friend of a friend, so the whole time I sat with the UK guys because he's from the UK, so I was the only Kenyan, so he called me over and just had his hoodie, big pants, the whole time. Nice guy. He's telling me when to, have a meal. Then he removed. He's like, "Yeah, you decided to step in with us?" I'm like, "Hell no." So yeah, it was fun though, and I enjoyed it.
It's gonna be quite funny when I do the Arnold because I'm classed as a Kenyan athlete.
Oh, nice.
I'm an NPC worldwide, although I'm British, because I live here. So they're gonna put Andy Davis, Kenya. I think people will be surprised when I step on stage, and I'm
like, huh?
I'm like shades of onesie, orange.
It'd be nice though.
Yeah, but it is again, like, it is difficult here for bodybuilding if you do want to be enhanced, because not just the lack of education, but if you want to work with exactly, if you want to work with doctors, they have no idea.
Wow. Yeah.
Even labs. Actually, you can't get bloods. I end up getting my bloods. I usually, because I go to UK a lot, I always get my bloods done anyway in the UK, then send them to Dean to look at. And because actually I try to get them done here, I was quoted $800. Or I got someone to do it for 25k. They sent my blood off to South Africa. So 25,000 shillings is $250. They sent my bloods off to South Africa. Something happened and they ended up having to refund me. So I wasted a load of weeks and I ended up being back in the UK. I was like, I'll just go here.
Yeah. Huh.
I do bloods myself then. I just put, drain them out my own.
Yeah, I guess even supplements are just a very new thing. So yeah, telling someone you're doing blood work for sports, they're like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. You go, I want to know my free test level, my SHGB.
Yeah, it's like, why?
They're like, do you want to know that?
It's really, we're still at infant stages, both, I guess, training and supplementation and even nutrition, I guess, because a lot of guys are just genetically gifted. I've helped guys with prep and you see the meals and you're like, that's it?
Yeah.
And you look
100%. Yeah. Sure. So many genetically gifted guys.
That's what, and I feel like it's the genetically gifted that they In fact, that the guy that I just mentioned, Austin, he kind of dropped the ball in a couple of situations, but he was able to skirt through and still look better than most people. You know, his dad said something to him that really stuck with me. He said, "Son, don't be a victim of your gift." I like that. I liked that. Because if you think about it, don't be a victim of your gift. You can be a victim of like not knowing you can still get by, you know. And I think in some of the case of the Kenyans that they just don't know, you know. And so it's not as if they're being lazy about it. But
I think
it's one of
when
those
you're not genetically gifted,
It's a good one.
you're always working because you know you've got to work because you're not genetically gifted. And I think with Kenyans is that lack of knowledge rather than anything else. But you know, things like so Ugalis.
Oh, Andy's gone.
He's got
I go off again.
You stopped at ugali.
Okay, so ugali is a maize starch that's used a lot in African cooking.
Okay.
And it sort of replaces it's your carb source, but it's literally a big lump of starchy white.
Polenta.
Polenta, essentially. But guys will live on that.
Okay.
You know, and with very little protein source, because obviously meat's expensive in Kenya in comparison, you know, compared to daily wage, or it'd be beans and ugali. It's kind of a stable Kenyan diet, you know.
Okay.
But guys still grow on that, you know. That's testament to, you know.
Like,
that's crazy.
How much, you know, Leon, when did you start eating?
Oh man, I was on ugali, beans, milk, and bread for a long time. And then by the time I read in a magazine 1 gram per pound of protein, I'm like, what the? I just ate. I was told by big guys in the gym, you train, eat the whole house, end of story. That's how I so it's most people I meet, it's just like, I just eat. Like, you eat, it's like whatever's in the house, I train, I eat. And that's how a lot of guys here. Then by the time they get on a nice nutrition program, it's like unlocking the matrix. It's like a new
Absolutely. I could see that. Man, you guys are giving me all sorts of ideas for a Kenyan-based podcast now. Like, you guys could come up with, like, you know, the top 5 foods to eat on a budget in Kenya, you know, like just, you know, educating people with just simple stuff like that would be gold, you know, for people that need to hear it.
And I think, that's kind of, we had a good episode last week on people starting their fitness journeys on what to eat on a budget, you know. What did I say? But also, you know, one thing is a bit of knowledge for you. Nile perch is the oiliest fish in the world. It's freshwater fish you get in abundance in Africa.
You say the oiliest?
Oiliest,
Okay.
More than salmon.
No kidding. Huh. Nile perch. I've never seen one of those. We have perch here.
But that's the thing, because people are like, you got to eat, let's try and get a couple of portions of oily fish in a week. It's really hard to get salmon. So, don't worry about salmon. Go check the bottom of the freezer at Carrefour for Nile perch. It's always there. It's pretty cheap. So,
how big are those perch? I know because we have perch here, little lake perch, and there may be about.
So that's a bit like the European perch. Well, Nile perch is quite big.
Wow. Okay.
Not quite big.
It depends on the size of the rib. I'm like, big.
That's
and
cool.
they're a menace, so the more you eat, the better. Because they were introduced to Lake Victoria, where they're eating all the indigenous fish. So
we need to.
Okay.
It's a win-win. We need more Nile perch.
Hey, Clea, what's the female fitness world like there?
So kind of like Leon touched on, it's still very much based in cardio, aerobics, still a lot of misconceptions about weightlifting and things like that. I think that is still everywhere, and it definitely is getting a lot better here. And there are a lot of like strong women. The CrossFit was great, getting women into lifting weights. And yeah, and the same with the bodybuilding. I think it's even harder here for women bodybuilding, because it's just like, why would you get in a bikini on the stage? Like,
okay.
It is taking off though. Although the crowds that watch bodybuilding shows still are very female bikinis now, still very sexualized to the crowd.
Okay.
It can be pretty disrespectful. I've sat in a couple and like, I don't understand why a woman would compete. But they are. It's relatively popular now. And I think we've got the one wellness elite pro, IFBB elite pro, who won a show in South Africa. So so that side of things, but Olympic weightlifting
there too, but just I think even more so for women, a lack of coaching, especially for the bodybuilding, a lack of understanding like what each look is, like what is bikini, what is figure. And so that's definitely got. Whereas the men, you can tell, like they're I guess it's more established for them. Women, it's still quite new.
I see.
And then again, the coaching standards, like, because I guess you coach women as well.
Yes.
For comp, and it is different. You've got to be careful with hormones and everything. And we've done a couple of episodes on that. Like, if you're a woman here and you want to, go into bodybuilding, like, get a really good coach, because like there isn't anyone here who I would trust, for that. And and a lot can go very wrong.
Sure.
I've heard on cycles. Men's cycles that are meant to be physique women.
Oh God.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or even Kenyan figure women on taking something because they heard a guy taking it at the gym. So that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I guess I was kind of interested because it sounds like you kind of touched on it a little bit. Almost the social acceptance of it, because I think you can, here in the US, it's like, women, you're free to do whatever you want, and I didn't know if you guys would have that same reception there of a woman who decides, hey, I'm going to lift weights, and then, I'm going to get on stage and I'm going to flex, that how people would socially respond to that. And it sounds like some of it's probably not that great. It sounds like.
Yeah. It's not too bad though. I mean,
okay.
I think it's pretty liberal. I mean,
okay.
It is. We do have a large Muslim population, but those women wouldn't compete. Even going to gym is still quite
okay. That's kind of what I was wondering. Like that kind of stuff.
I've got a couple of Somali women clients, and we do it by measurements. I don't, we send the weights in, and we send measurements in, and they train at a women-only section of the gym. The men get all the good equipment upstairs, and they get like a slightly substandard gym downstairs. But is what it is. But
do they have to train in that women's section, or they just have that available to them because they
think of that gym we do? Not other gyms, they can train anywhere. But so there's a certain area of Nairobi where predominantly, say, the Somali population, that's Muslim Somali population live, and they all sort of train at the same gym.
Okay.
Predominantly.
Because I've seen that in certain countries where they'll segregate the men from the women.
Yeah, and Kenya's a lot more liberal. It's more within ethnic groups within Kenya. They sort of do their own thing. But Kenya as a whole is relatively liberal. I think the issue at the shows is more to do with the spectators who don't truly understand bodybuilding.
Yeah.
I think the women's bodybuilding, especially bikinis, are passion.
Yeah.
And we see it some sort of it's a girl in a bikini, let's shout catcall them.
Yeah.
It's also very, I don't know if it's calling it chauvinistic, but it's also like, how can a woman have bigger muscles and
Yeah, yeah. It's emasculating.
also,
How could she be stronger than me?
yeah,
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, it's
yeah,
challenging.
yeah, it is, because a lot of men are it's even lifting weight, it's not too many people do it even. Yeah, so it's like seeing a lady with that developed back, quads,
Mhm.
and you're that guy in the crowd and you're like, there's that, is she a man? Or like, there's very, it's ignorance in a way. It's not hurt, it's not like meant to hurt, but they just
Yeah,
don't understand. It's like,
yeah.
how is she more muscular
Things
than
that
me?
say it out loud, though. The problem is they don't keep it to themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
that's
shout
the
it
thing.
out.
It's where
That's the issue.
they really don't understand. So it's not like they're hiding. It's like, is she on, like, like you can really see like they don't really understand. The guys enjoy it, yes, but mentally afterwards, obviously it's not easy for the lady athletes, because there's all these men judging and obviously calling them names, but it's just where the men who do not lift and don't understand bodybuilding still don't understand it, because
Yeah.
most people go to see the big, the big boys, the big men, and then you're seeing bikini girls. It's a nice pageant showing between, and then you see the muscly ladies, and you're like, how are they bigger than it?
Yeah, it's challenging. I think muscle in general is challenging, It just you see, whether it doesn't matter your sex, if you're a man or a woman, you'll find I've had people that just they can't handle it, Like I've been in contest shape, and you'll get some guys that will immediately scoff, They'll be like, oh, well, I could look like that too if I took all those drugs you do,
Yeah.
or who would want to look like that, or I'd
Yeah.
rather, hang out with my buddies and drink beer, than look like that. It's just people that they're challenged by you. When they see muscle, they see somebody who's in better shape than them.
Yeah.
And then add the fact that it's a woman, and it's a woman that's got more muscle, can bench press more than me. I could see it give you a complex if if you weren't ready for that.
Yeah, but that's interesting what you said. Like, you're like, oh, I could look like you, but then not realizing the incredible effort that goes into being ready for
That's
Sure.
that's the problem with bodybuilding, isn't it? It's 365 days a year, 24/7. So that's why it appeals to extremists on every level.
Yeah. So I mean, Scott, are you going to compete again? What's that?
Gosh, I last show I did was 2017, and I dieted like from February through November, and I did a show in July, September, and November, October and November, and I thought, and I learned so much from it. It was really good, like helping me with my coaching. But then, it also took away from my ability to do work, because I was completely brain dead for about 8 weeks at the end. It was cool. I got to travel. I went and did a show in California and hung out with a friend that lives there. And, I got to have a lot of really cool experiences. And the idea of competing since that year, it hadn't really been on the forefront of my mind. My thought was, initially, like from 2017 to 18, I had some personal stuff go on, and I made some big life changes, and I really focused on business, and I stayed in shape. I'd take like 5 months to diet down, see my abs. And then, after that, just kind of focus more on work, etc. And then the pandemic hit, and I started, actually before the pandemic even, I started focusing on getting stronger. And through the pandemic, I continued to get stronger. And now in my 40s, I can say that I was the strongest I have ever been in my life. And I started eating more with that, and just kind of getting momentum behind me. And I was very happy with where I was. And then I got COVID. I got very sick, and it's turned into a big thing. That was this February. I ended up losing 40 pounds, which I gained a lot of that back now, but I'm still down, and I'm having lung issues. So the last 6-7 months have just been about trying to get back to normal and get healthy. But my thought had been until then was just keep growing, and then from there, eventually, maybe one day I'll be ready to pull the trigger again and unleash a new physique on the world, bigger than ever, better than ever. But I got sick, and so life had some other plans for me. So I'm trying to get back to that and get back to the point that I can train the way I love training, kind of like what you guys are talking about, just being there with you, just me in the gym alone, having that time to focus on myself and challenge myself, to be the best I can, do better than I did the day before. I love that stuff. So I'm just trying to find a balance of being able to just work out and enjoy it again right now, I think I'm back.
Yeah, silver linings from COVID is awful, and like you say, you've still got the lung issues, but I suppose the only silver lining from that is taking the motivation to come back, and find that passion again, and then build back up from where you were.
You should get big masters shows in the US though. You get a masters pro card.
Yeah.
Unlike
they've got them.
UK, you can. UK, if you win your masters class, you don't even go into the overall lineup. So the overall winner gets a pro card. But if you win the masters, you've got to enter another class as well to be able to challenge.
Okay.
Wow.
We have a master show here, like the Pittsburgh Masters Nationals is a big one. And I'll tell you what, there's some guys that come out of the woodwork for that. The guys they have a 35 and over card, they have the 40 and over, and those guys those guys are also in the open, and they're some of the top placers in the open too. Because 35 as a heavyweight bodybuilder.
Karif Baggio, was it Karif Baggio? Didn't he get his pro card? We got a 212 guy won at. You in Tampa?
I'm not sure.
Karif, but he got his pro card as a master.
Okay. Yeah.
And he looked amazing. He nearly beat Keon, the show before that. I think he got third in the end, but I thought I had him because he's quite dense winning, and I quite like that look. But so there's a few. I think, is it Phil Carhart? Didn't he get his pro card as a master?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. I think so. I just support the old guys. I love it.
No, well, that's awesome. I think, unless gents, you have any other questions?
No, we don't take too much of Scott's time.
I could keep asking you guys about Kenya bodybuilding and stuff, and just bodybuilding over there in general all day long. So, but I will stop. I feel satisfied.
Yeah, we can have a part 2, getting into bodybuilding. We should get Wallace on. We've been saying that, the guy who owns the Hood Gym.
Yeah,
we totally should get him on.
Because I can imagine you would really enjoy chatting with him too.
We could organize one, because we were supposed to get him for an episode.
Yeah,
we could make it.
He'd have to do some posing for you, so you can just see his physique. He has his chickens running around the gym that he then eats later.
So. You're kidding me. That's amazing.
He does it on his IG stories. He's filming the chickens. He's like, I'll be eating you later.
Maybe eggs, maybe chickens.
All right. But Scott, we truly appreciate you coming on. That was really interesting. And really love what you're doing. And hopefully we can kind of follow in your footsteps, the Kenyan version.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, if I can ever say anything to help you guys or anything, just let me know. I'd be happy to give me any kind of insights I've picked up, because it sounds like you guys are doing a good thing, and it sounds like your audience needs you, that's a great place to be, to have an audience that needs your education and your information. And I think it's a really good thing that you're doing. So I'm grateful to have been a part of this. Thank you.
That's it. We can get you out on a holiday to Kenya, Victoria. I'll even take you shooting.
Walk around.
Yes.
I'll take you to range.
That'd be fun. I'd love that. That would be a dream.
So far, have we frozen?
You're there. Oh, yeah, there to me.
Okay. Oh, it's our internet on the table. But if you ever come out, I think we said the same to Victoria. We would love to have you guys do some training, safari. It would be awesome.
That would be amazing. Thank you.
All right, Scott, thanks again. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your week. And
Yeah, thank you so much.
You got it. It was great to meet all you guys. Thank you.
Cheers, Scott.
Yeah.